On today's show, Alex Ovechkin, OT, game winner.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called the Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, Alex Ovechkin, OT game winner, who's loving the Capitals play here as of late. In the game tonight, we take a look at it. It was a bit of a stalemate out there. It was a goalie duel out there that it could have gone in any direction. And to be fair here, the Ottawa Senators are a quick team, and they were taking it to the Capitals. How did they win this one? I'll talk about that a little bit later. I will talk about Logan Thompson is number one. Make no mistake about it. So when Charlie Lindgren comes back, is there even a battle out there anymore? If there's going to be a number one and number two, and who is ultimately the number one? Logan Thompson is stepping up, getting back-to-back shutouts. I'll talk about that. And then in the final segment, I will talk about signs of improvement, most notably on offense. But just to get it going here, talking about what a game tonight in Ottawa. An exciting game. And, you know, it's an interesting thing to say, an exciting game. Dan, the score was 0-0 through regulation. This game had all the exciting factors. It was a physical game. There was fisticuffs. There were some hits. There were some great net minding, some great shots out there. It was a truly fun game to watch. It required OT. So, you know, just making it to the end of regulation at 0-0, I'm like, hey, the Capitals at least got a point out of this whole thing. But for Alex Ovechkin, Mr. Clutch, to get the game-winning goal in OT, definitely gets those warm, fuzzy vibes, if you will, as a Capitals fan. What a game we witnessed tonight. And, you know, before I started recording this, I was keeping a mindful eye on the standings. And for a moment, the Capitals led all of the NHL in points. Well, Winnipeg, we're still tied with Winnipeg for the most points in the NHL. But that doesn't really matter. What a game. This team is firing on all cylinders. Chychrun facing his former team. Jansen facing his former team. There was a lot of excitement in the game. So that's what we're going to dive into, that thrilling matchup that we witnessed tonight between the Caps and the Senators. You know, you take a look at it, the Ottawa Senators, it is one of the teams that we hear is going to be good next year. No, next year, this team is markedly better than the last time I saw them. And you take a look at it, the netminder that they had in net tonight for Ottawa, well, that isn't their plan A. Linus Ullmark, as we know, is injured right now, so this was plan B for them, but he stepped up. Levi Merilainen really stepped up and played big for the Ottawa Senators. So a team that's quick, a team that does not spend a lot of time in their own zone, a team that the Capitals had to be busy forechecking, and if it was not for Logan Thompson, make no mistake about it, the Capitals would have lost this game quite handily, I might add, just to start the game in the first period alone. And then going into this in the second period, I would say he faced 5, 6, 7 high danger chances that if it was a less of a netminder, the Capitals would be in the loss column here. And I would be talking to you about why did the Capitals lose this game to the Ottawa Senators. Let's really hear it for LT, Logan Thompson, and Chris Patrick do the right thing and sign this guy up to a long-term contract. I know it's not going to be easy. I know it's going to be expensive. I know what, the premier netminders in the league are making. I know, what Igor Shesterkin is making and all these big deals that are out there. Do the right thing and sign him to a long-term deal. Give him the checkbook, have him fill it out. Let's make it happen. But an exciting goaltender duel on display tonight. Logan Thompson, back-to-back shutouts like I talked about. I'll talk about later in the show a little bit more in depth who's really emerging as the starter, and rookie Levi Merilainen. Quite an evening for fans of netminding, as you take a look at it, not finding the back of the net until OT, but this game had all the ingredients of an exciting game except for the scoring. But let's be real here. Alex Ovechkin, our captain, your captain, my captain, Alex Ovechkin was the man of the hour. And it was just yesterday's show I was talking about that head coach Spencer Carbery said that Ovi's just catching up. He's still kind of catching up after the injury and making his return and up to full speed. Listen, he wasn't generating the most chances during regulation, but he was clutch when the Capitals needed him, and that's what he did. Thompson notched his second consecutive shutout, but all eyes were on Ovechkin as he came through in OT, scoring the game winner. And at home, watching this on TV, fist pumping even long after the play was over, even when I was watching it on repeat 3 times. What an exciting feeling as a Capitals fan. And I've got to think, as an NHL fan in general, you had to be pretty excited about the game tonight. With that goal, he surpassed Jaromir Jagr for the most different goaltenders scored on in the NHL, hitting an incredible total of 179. And that's one of the things, if you are an everydayer of the show, I talk about that. We know that he is chasing down Gretzky and all of that, but all the other milestones that he's knocking down between here and there. Quite an evening for the grade 8 plus. It was his 21st goal of the season and his 134th career game-winning goal. 134 career game-winning goals. Okay, there was a discussion on this channel. It was a squad cast with some of the other Locked On hosts, and they were talking about who's better, Gretzky or Ovechkin, and they were talking about goal scoring alone. At the end of the day, Alex Ovechkin is going to be the best goal scorer of all time, but not only that, the most well-rounded player. You could make some criticisms about his defense, but when you take a look at all that he has accomplished, I don't think that it's really up for debate what he can accomplish and what he has accomplished and what he means for the Capitals and the NHL. Quite stunning. His 134th career game-winning goal. Underline that, putting him just one shy of tying Jagr's all-time record of 135. What a great time to be alive. What a great time to be an Alex Ovechkin fan. Just an exciting game and just all the ingredients, like I said, of a fun game. If I could have changed one thing, maybe a little bit more goal scoring, but a great evening for Logan Thompson, the grade 8. This team is firing on all cylinders. Now, you take a look at that, and I say firing on all cylinders, generating opportunities, and make no mistake about it, the Ottawa Senators and their netminder did his level best to keep the Capitals out. You take a look at it, of course, I wish the Capitals wouldn't have spent so much time in the penalty box, but they were perfect on the PK tonight. And ultimately, I wish they would have scored more goals, but all things considered, this team is playing very well. And the final score and the game overview, the final score was 1-0, which made for some tension as both teams were locked in a scoreless tie through regulation. And the fear was that the multiple penalties, all the time that the Capitals spent in the penalty box, were the Ottawa Senators going to make the Caps pay? Emotions boiled over. Tom Wilson was boiling over with emotion when he was into the penalty box, and you saw Alex Ovechkin sitting alongside him looking at the Ottawa player, and it was just emotions ran high. And, you saw what was going to be a throwdown with Kachuk and Wilson, which really kind of fizzled. That's what I'm talking about. The games that have that, sometimes for me, that is even more exciting than a really fancy goal. But, Ovi's determination after a bit of a struggle earlier in the game, he stepped up when it mattered, teaming up with Sandin on an odd man rush to secure number 874. Such a great moment that also marked his 27th career overtime goal, extending his NHL goal record. Now, just think about how phenomenal that is, especially at 39 years old. He's now just 21 goals away from surpassing Wayne Gretzky's all-time list. We're living this right now. And it's something that you won't appreciate. I probably won't appreciate till I'm much older and you're much older, that we saw that guy, the folklore and all that surrounds the greatness of the Great Eight. And we're going to see it happen. It's going to happen this year. And I'm getting more and more excited, the goal after goal after goal, that it's going to happen, and be ready for it. Just a really exciting time to be a Capitals fan. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about Logan Thompson, dispelling any rumors or myths that is there a battle for the number one in net. Logan Thompson is the number one in net. Make no mistake about it. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast, easy? Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored job posts put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. And listen, if you are involved in HR, the hiring, the firing, there's a lot of stress to it. I get involved in the hiring and firing at work, and it can be stressful. And that is why I love Indeed, and I think you will as well. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on the Locked On Capitals podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team. Every day you can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps, and this game was exciting. And like I talked about in the first segment, make no mistake about it, Logan Thompson was the guy, the brick wall in net, making saves that most any other netminder in the NHL wouldn't make. He made, and that is ultimately why the Capitals won this game. This is why he got back-to-back shutouts, and what we're seeing is that we're seeing his game elevate with the more play that he's getting. Charlie Lindgren, as we know, has been sidelined, can return Saturday against the Penguins, but what we've learned is, honestly, Logan Thompson plays that much better with the more play that he gets. He was good with Charlie when they were alternating back and forth, but what we've seen in a litmus test, in a vacuum, is that Logan Thompson plays that much better. Keep riding that hot hand. And I know what the thought process there was, is that, you keep, alternating back between LT and Chucky, and they're going to be fresh in the playoffs. Well, you're not going to need to worry about the playoffs if your team doesn't play well. And to be fair here, I think that formula would get them into the playoffs. But I want the Capitals to accumulate as much points as they possibly can between now and the end of the season. And Logan Thompson gives them the absolute best chance on any given night to win the hockey game. That was evident tonight. That was evident in back-to-back shutouts. If you are not on the Logan Thompson hype train right now, then I don't think you ever will be. You take a look at it. Braden Holtby was my all-time favorite Capitals netminder. Logan Thompson is inching closer and closer to that. Now, I do understand that there is a lot of runway between now and the end of the season. But what we've seen thus far, as he has been lights out. So what does that mean for Chucky Sideburns? Well, that means he's going to be the backup, and that's just the way that it's going to be. Now, to be clear here, like I said, there's a lot of time between now and the end of the season. And, Logan Thompson, I hate to say it, could get injured, but those kind of things happen, and you might need Charlie Lindgren. But Logan Thompson, pound for pound, gives your team, the Capitals, the best chance at winning. And he was absolutely lights out again tonight. Let's not forget about Thompson's performance, though. He turned away 25 shots and is now 22-3 on the season, tying Braden Holtby for the fewest games to reach 20 wins in a single season for the Caps. A remarkable achievement for Logan Thompson. And let's just kind of recount how this whole thing happened. Going into this season, the thought was that, Darcy Kemper, well, he got traded out to the Kings because it was just, a square peg in a round hole. He just did not work with the Capitals. So what happened is he got sent out to the Kings. The Capitals got Pierre-Luc Dubois. And, you take a look at it, it seemed pretty well set. It was going to be Charlie Lindgren and it was going to be Hunter Shepard, and that's the way it was going to be. But what did Brian McClellan know is that Charlie Lindgren was really good last season, and the season before was really good in the month of December. So in a lot of ways, an unproven commodity. Any netminder can play really good for a stretch of games or maybe one season, but unless you have data from back-to-back seasons, that you can't really judge what you have in the tank. And what did he do? He made a trade and acquired Logan Thompson from the Vegas Golden Knights for around $775,000. Now, to be clear here, if he walks at the end of the season, still a victory. Two great netminders for under $2 million. But ultimately, we need to do the right thing and sign him up to that long-term deal. So what we've seen from LT and Charlie is that Logan Thompson has not shown a lot of weakness. There was that one gaffe that comes to mind here somewhat recently against the Rangers. But other than that, he has been lights out. You take a look at Charlie Lindgren, to contrast the difference. As of late, his play when he was playing was not as great. Again, I think there's mind games going on there, that this is a battle. I thought this was my net, but Logan Thompson, well, he's playing so good that I think to a lot of ways he is struggling with confidence, the way that we saw with Anthony Mantha, the way that we saw with Alex Ovechkin to start last season, that, that's the way that it is. And at the end of the day, I don't care who the number one is. I just want the netminder that is going to give the Capitals the best chance of winning a game night in and night out. And that is LT for sure. What I would say, even when Charlie Lindgren comes back, listen, there's not going to be a back-to-back for quite some time here. Keep riding that hot hand until he proves otherwise. There's gaps between games here. What we've noticed is he plays that much better when he gets a lot of playing time. So, you take a look at it, unless, Logan Thompson falters, say he takes a step back, there's no reason why you shouldn't do that. And it's a bit of a change, and I've changed my thought process on it as well. But what I was basing my decision on earlier in the season is that both LT and Chucky were playing lights out. But like I said, the cream rises to the top, and Logan Thompson, by far and away, is the Capitals' number one best netminder, their best chance at winning games night in and night out. Let's keep rolling with LT. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about signs of improvement. Not here too long ago, we were talking about Spencer Carbery and his concern about scoring 5-on-5 and, trying to reposition the forward line combinations. Is it working? And did he do the right thing? I'll discuss straight ahead. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year. The energy and excitement were unforgettable. Now, Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature called Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And that's frustrating. Your favorite band comes to town, your favorite sports team's playing, and what is the view of the playing surface or the stage going to be like? Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. So talking about signs of improvement, like I said, Spencer Carbery was talking about here recently that, the team's doing good, but the things that were working for the team earlier in the season aren't working now. And the talk of struggling, scoring 5-on-5, all of those things, signs of improvement. You might think to yourself, signs of improvement, Dan. Well, maybe you didn't watch the game, but it was 0-0 through regulation, but generating chances. And there is signs of improvement. I still am a believer in the top line that features PLD at the center and Strome as the second line center. Now, for a line's share of the season, it worked with Strome on the top line and PLD on the second line, but I think that we're starting to see greater chemistry out on the ice, and I think that was evident. And what were the signs of improvement? The Caps defense work was stellar tonight, effectively shutting down the Senators' top offensive players and killing all three of their power plays. You take a look at it, in an ideal world, the Capitals would not have had to kill off those penalties. And some of the penalties, you could tell by looking at head coach Spencer Carbery, what the bleep are you guys doing? I'm talking about the Nick Dowd one. That comes to mind. That some of the penalties out there, probably could be avoided. But again, that's me watching the game at home. That's Spencer Carbery sitting on the bench or standing on the side. That when you're not on the ice in the real game situations, emotions boil over, and sometimes the play isn't quite what it should be. You take a look at, like I say, at the Ottawa Senators. If you didn't have any context of what kind of team they were before what you saw tonight, say that you didn't pay attention to any social media, say you didn't look at the standings, you just saw this team playing in front of you, you would have thought that the Ottawa Senators were one of the better teams in the NHL. Speed, great net minding, aggressive. There was a lot to love. And the Capitals, their defense found a way to shut that down. So quite an accomplishment by the Capitals blue line and overall defense. But, the Capitals, like I talked about, they were seeking offensive improvement, and ultimately why we saw the lines get mixed up. It's clear we're still looking for ways to spark the offense. Like I said, signs of improvement, but at the end of the day, the Capitals did not put up a goal until OT. Coach Spencer Carbery made some interesting adjustments, putting Ovi back with Dylan Strome on the top line and pairing Pierre-Luc Dubois with Connor McMichael and Tom Wilson. So we did see some changes. It'll be intriguing to see how these changes will play out moving forward. So, you take a look at it, there has been some adjusting here and there. And ultimately, what is head coach Spencer Carbery going to do? I don't think he's done tinkering, if you want me to be honest with you. I think that it is a work in progress. I think that if the team doesn't play well on any given night, expect some changes. So what we've seen is some signs of improvement, most notably, I guess I would say, in the last game against the Anaheim Ducks. But, it was one of the tough things where the Ottawa Senators, they were dialed in as well. So you take a look at it that, they were trying to generate opportunities. The Ottawa Senators, they were trying to generate opportunities. And ultimately, it was Alex Ovechkin was the guy that was able to finally get it done. So in conclusion, despite this win, there is still room for improvement in the game's offensive flow. Ovechkin's excellence is undeniable, but the Caps need to find that consistent rhythm earlier in games. Now, you take a look at it, they walked away victorious. They walked away picking up the points that they need, but they still could have found a way to potentially generate more opportunities. I think they ultimately did what they could do. It's just that it was an Ottawa Senators team that was really, really dialed in. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.